These two brands are almost definitely the first two options that come to mind or come to your Google search when getting your first or second pair of boots or 10th pair of boots. They're the two most popular resellable casual boot brands in America. They're both the best value boots in different ways. And they both also have distinctively different styles and advantages and disadvantages that go with that look. I'm gonna help you decide between the brands by looking at the two most popular models, which happen to be lace-up cap-toe boots. Red Wing's Iron Ranger and Thursday's Captain boot. We're looking at the style, comfort, leather, construction, and the price. I'm Nick, by the way. This is Stridewise.com, where we look at casual, durable stuff. I've been making videos on this topic for a sickeningly long time, and I did this one 5 years ago. And so this is an updated video because since then I've spent a lot more time wearing these boots and exploring both these brands. And I've made boots since then and visited a bunch of factories, and I just know more about this stuff now. And also loafers and sneakers if you want the other side of casual, durable. I've got some stuff on that too. Probably should have called this channel casual, durable, but it's too late for that now. Let's talk about the price. This might be a weird one to start with, but just because it's top of mind for most guys, I'm putting it here. And it's critical for framing the differences between these boots because they're just in different price brackets. Now, both of them are made with Goodyear welt construction, and it just means that the upper and the sole are attached to a welt between the two instead of being attached to each other, and that makes them very easy to resole and very water resistant. The reason you've heard people talk about Thursday boots so much is that before they came along, pretty much no one was doing Goodyear welted boots for $199. And there are some brands out there at this price point that look a bit like this, like Golden Fox and Portland, and neither of those are as easy to resole. And somehow in over 10 years, Thursday has managed to keep the price at $199. Positive that within 2 years they'll have to increase the price, so maybe this will date the video, but the fact that the price didn't change for like 10 years really does show like a commitment to maintaining the value of the product. The Iron Ranger, on the other hand, this has gone up about $30 in the last 10 years, which is not that crazy at all given the circumstances, and this costs $350 right now. This seems the best place to say that the Thursdays are made in Mexico and Red Wings are made in Minnesota, and while Thursday is less expensive, if you want American-made boots, Red Wing actually offers fantastic value for a resolable Goodyear welted boot. Because of the company's size and because they own their own factory and their own tannery, no one else really manages to make welted boots in America at a better price than Red Wing, except Thursday, who also has an American-made version called the Vanguard for $265. Style-wise, while they're both cap-toe lace-up boots, they're both pretty different. The main summary is that Thursday's is more or less inspired by World War II service boots, and Red Wing is more or less inspired by work boots from roughly the same period. Neither boot is an identical recreation of boots from 100 years ago, but Thursday gets called a service boot because it's just lower profile, and Red Wing gets called a work boot because it's chunkier and it has more stitching, like 4 rows on the toe cap, and a bunch of other elements that emphasize that utilitarian bent. Far and away the most common description I hear of the Iron Ranger is clown shoe, because the toe is indeed big and round and wide. Plus, unlike Thursday, this is a real toe cap, so that adds even more size to the toe, like it's an actual extra piece of leather. Thursday's here is decorative. It is a second piece of leather, but there's still just one layer of leather over the toe here. The biggest takeaway here is that the Captain is a more subtle and versatile boot. It's sleeker, lower profile, less of a throwback look, and it's also easier to wear with tapered pants as a result. But Iron Ranger's clown shoe, it really gets emphasized if you're wearing them with slimmer fitting pants. It's important to emphasize that roomier sort of look. It means that it's a bit more room for dynamic movement, but it is very casual no matter what of the 5-ish leathers you get it in. Thursday, if you want it to, can pretty easily go smart casual or business casual. Maybe not in this leather here. This is the terracotta leather that I've really worn in a lot, but this boot comes in something like 15 leathers, and plenty of the ones they call classic can be very smart. The brandy one here, and this is also brown, but as you can see, it lends itself a lot more to dressier situations, could maybe go up to business casual. Which brand wins for leather depends on what you want, because Red Wings is a bit thicker. On average, you're looking at 2.1 millimeters to Thursday's 1.9 millimeters. Although I should note that Thursday has a much easier break-in as a result, and Red Wing leans on what they call oil tanned leather. Chrome tanned leather that's been infused with a lot of oils to make it more hard wearing and more water resistant. They have a couple of rough outs too at Red Wing. That's just like the other side of the leather, so the fuzziness on the inside of this boot is on the outside. Whatever you get, the angle with the Red Wing Iron Ranger leather is tough. It's a tough do anything leather. Thursday gives you way more options, so that adds to the versatility aspect. You get options of the smarter classic ones like Thursday Chrome. They have waterproof suede options, and just in case you like the sound of that oil tan leather, they also have what they call their rugged and resilient line, which has similar properties, like lots of extra oils in this leather. This is the Arizona Adobe, which I think is their most popular leather, and the other most popular leather is black matte, which is also in that rugged and resilient line. If you like the harder wearing aspect of boot leathers, and that Red Wing has, there is the rugged and resilient line you can get, but you also have the option of suedes and of the more classic, easy to dress up leathers as well. I will note that on some of Thursday's classic leathers, like the Thursday Chrome brown one, I did notice the top layer of that scratch away with a bit of wear if you're wearing them too hard. That happened on my first pair many years ago. They've gotten better at just about everything since then, so maybe that doesn't happen anymore, but I will will state that if you're planning to really beat up your boots, go with rugged and resilient rather than classic ones, whereas the classic one's a bit easier for the office. And also for the record, the suede ones and wax suede and rough out, they're basically scratch proof. But what's under the leather? We're gonna talk about the construction now. And both of these models, even though they lead the industry of Goodyear welted boots in the US, they're both actually unusual in their construction. The sort of classic traditional Goodyear welted boot is multiple layers of leather, like leather insole and midsole, and sometimes leather outsole as well. Surprisingly, the Iron Ranger doesn't have a midsole, ostensibly because it's meant to be a more flexible work boot. And this is also one of the reasons that it's cheaper than other American-made welted boots. This has a thick vegetable tan leather insole, and the welt forms a cavity that gets filled with cork, which Red Wing has called a cork midsole before, but it's not a midsole and it doesn't have a midsole. Cork is used in just about every Goodyear welted shoe because it manages moisture and it helps a little bit of shock absorption. And like the leather insole, the cork under the leather insole molds the shape of your foot with time. The outsole on the Iron Ranger is a rubber mini lug sole from Vibram. Thursday does have a leather midsole and cork filling and a rubber outsole with recessed lugs that looks identical to the Iron Ranger when viewed from the side. So both boots have one layer of vegetable tan leather, and they got cork filling and a steel shank to help with stability, and a rubber outsole with recessed lugs. Where Thursday differs from traditional Goodyear welted boots is they swapped the insole for Poron, which is shock absorbing foam that used to be found mostly on athletic shoes and hiking boots. Very rare for boots like this, or at least it was until Thursday came along, and then a lot of brands started trying it out. That leads us into the comfort section. So let's talk about comfort now. Which is the most comfortable boot? It's a really hard question to answer because these construction differences have different implications and people have different definitions of comfort out there. That's something I've found in the years since I've been making content. Thursday has better shock absorption, obviously, with that Poron. The Iron Rangers have god-awful shock absorption, even for a boot made without foam, because they don't have a midsole, and that would have helped just a little bit with shock absorption, especially if it was like a rubber one or something. Because Red Wing gives you leather underfoot, it molds to the shape of your foot over many months, a little bit better than Thursday's foam does. Thursday does still have the leather midsole. Nonetheless, the whole old-fashioned boots conforming to the shape of your foot over many months, many years, that's what draws a lot of guys to Goodyear welted boots. And because it's a bit thicker and because of a couple other elements, Red Wing might do a better job of doing that than Thursday. That said, my shoe size is really popular. I have like 10 friends with the same shoe size, and as a boot dork with too many boots, whenever I learn that someone I know has my shoe size, I bring them like a half dozen boots for them to try on and say, you can take one of these, whichever one you prefer, and they always pick Thursday. That literally happened in Vancouver a couple of months ago. Here's a photo of it. I brought a friend of mine Thursday and Grant Stone, a brand with leather midsoles. That brand's a real darling of online boot nerds, and he picked Thursday because he found the sneakeriness more comfortable than the traditional hardwood feeling of the traditionally made Goodyear welted boot. The average civilian shoe wearer does find Thursday more comfortable. And on a similar comfort note, while they technically have thinner leather on Thursday, that combined with the firm insole instead of leather insole means the break-in is easier with Thursday as well. I will say that with Thursday's rugged and resilient leathers, you will probably get a few blisters the first week or two of wearing them, but Red Wing is famous for a tough break-in. I got it myself. It's a much harder experience getting a new pair of boots with Red Wing than with Thursday. A lot of people see a tough break-in as like a sign of a better boot. I think that's pretty disputable. But as a dude on YouTube, I am talking to the general population, and it's my responsibility to tell you, you'll probably find Thursdays a more enjoyable wearing experience. That it's just a numbers game. I've just done the polling, and I've asked all my friends. They just tend to prefer that softer feeling of Thursdays. So Thursday, a big advantage with the fit is that they have wide and extra wide sizes for their best-selling leathers. Red Wing, they suck from experience at keeping wide sizes in stock, but sometimes in some leathers, they will have one wide width for the Iron Ranger. Again, the Iron Ranger is roomier, so in some respects, it's more forgiving on different foot widths with that rounder toe. On the other hand, because it's so roomy, it's kind of more important that you get the right size, because otherwise you'll slip around. So I would recommend just pretending that you're going to buy some sneakers and go into a shoe store and get a size on a Brannock. Subtract half from that. That said, everyone has different feet, so I've been to both Red Wing's store and Thursday's store for in-depth videos on the sizing, and both of those in the description below. So that's it. Let me know in the comments which boot you like the best. The thing is, it's barely a comparison because they're totally different price brackets, totally different sort of use cases, and totally different looks as well. Usually there's a clear winner for someone. It's always individual. Let me know which one you prefer. Subscribe here for more stuff on casual stuff that lasts a long time, because I get a million more videos on boots and well-made casual stuff coming up.